Hey guys, so today I want to talk about something really powerful, and it's basically the making of literally the perfect diet. You know, this is kind of the start of the best diet in the world, and it's really simple. You know, there's so many diets have it in common, whether you're eating Paleolithic, whether you even become a raw food vegan, whether you go vegetarian, a sensible one, or plant-based eating, whether you follow the Gerson therapy. All these things have one thing in common, and it's really simple. It's a principle that most of them don't even realise they do, which is the starting point of all the success. And even metabolic typing, they all have this in common, and it's just removing all processed food. It comes back to a really simple, it's actually one of my favourite books. It's called Nutrition and Physical Degeneration. There's loads of different tribes all over the world. They all have different diets, whether it's high fat, low fat, high carbohydrate, low protein, almost all meat diets. The Eskimos pretty much 100% fish diet and whale blubber and things like that. And the one thing all these diets have in common, and all these people are really healthy, even if you follow a metabolic typing diet or you follow a raw food vegan, although those are totally different diets, the one thing they take away and that starts them to make them really healthy is the one thing that was the same in all these tribes. There's no processed food. Not at all. Whether you think dairy is a natural food or not, if you have it in its raw form, it's unprocessed. So whether you have that, there's all these different things. Whether you think meat's good for you, you know, whether you think we should cook food. The point of the matter is, those are methods to get you where you want to go. If you want to start getting the perfect diet, the first thing you have to look at is the obvious thing of actual real food. You know, whether you think legumes or grains are good for you, they're still much more of a real food, and having them as unprocessed as you can. So, you know, if you want to start making a perfect diet, the thing that you've got to do is got to be removing all sugars, all things that are unnatural. You know, if you go out in the world, you're not going to find a chocolate bar tree or a sandwich tree. When you remove all these things and go back to square one and have things in as natural and as least processed state as possible, you're going to be pretty healthy. Whether you go to become a vegan or whether you're literally a carnivore. If you have grains but you have them in their least processed form, literally, and try and sprout them and they're even less processed then because you don't even have to cook them, that's the best form you're going to have them in. It's quite obvious. You're looking to go back to nature. Organic is obviously the most natural, so that's what you go back to. If you do have dairy, you have it in a raw form, unpasteurised, totally natural. You know, if you're going to have meat, stop trying to have just the lean parts. Eat the whole animal, and then you're going to be more natural because you've got more balanced nutrition from each different part of that animal. So, you see, simple. The best diet in the world, or the starting point of that, is just going back to one basic principle of having everything unprocessed. You know, having as natural and normal diet as you can. Once you start at that point, whatever you eat, whether it's high fat or low fat or high protein, people have survived on it. People have thrived on it. As this book shows, it's only when you add in processed food that people actually start to degenerate and basically fall apart. As soon as you go back to 100% natural, then you can start breaking off and making methods and deciding whether you should go vegetarian, deciding whether you should move all grains. But the first step is a basic principle. And remember, principles what are your foundations. Methods are always changing, they're always different, you know. One day you could think vegan's the best, another day you think paleo's the best. But something that should be obvious is unprocessed, natural food is a principle that's always going to come out on top. You know, it's never going to be proven that suddenly after 2 million years of eating unprocessed natural food, you should start eating chocolate bars because they're better for you and they lower your cholesterol and give you more energy in the long term and make you lose weight. You know, it's obvious. Unprocessed natural food has worked for 2 million years. It's totally fresh. It doesn't harm people. It's only helped people. We've survived on it. It's a principle that will never change. If you start by doing that, then start deciding on your method to get in the best shape you want, whether it's going to become a raw food vegan or whether you become a Paleolithic eater. You have to realise the number one step is unprocessed natural food, and that is basically the start of getting the best and most perfect diet in the world. And no one can argue with that because that's obvious. You know, nutritionists might think otherwise, but they can't argue with over 2 million years of eating just fresh, unprocessed food. 100,000 years ago, we were not eating chocolate bars, and there was a lot less illness, and people were a lot healthier 100 years ago, and things like that, and there was less processed food then. And all tribes that have got no illness, no disease, don't eat any processed food. So my principle for nutrition, and what I consider to be the start of the best and literally a perfect, if there is such a thing, a perfect diet, is just unprocessed natural food. And then you decide where you want to go from there. You can build on methods, but that is your foundation to have a perfect diet. And when you see someone preaching something, whether it be a metabolic typing diet or vegan diet, just remember, they've got one principle. They don't even realise they're arguing, and there's more in common with their diet than pretty much anything calorie counting out there. So remember, the principle is natural, organic, because it's fresher, as unprocessed food as you can have, and you can't go very wrong there. Starting there, you're always going to be pretty healthy. You can build on it and decide your opinion, but that's a principle that will never, ever change.